Hey guys, MCU Collector here with the next video in the Hasbro Marvel Legends series, Captain Marvel Wave, Kree Sentry Build-A-Figure. Next up is the fifth figure in this wave. It is the YON-ROGG figure, which it is a movie figure, part of the Starforce. Originally, when this figure was announced, it was called the Starforce Commander, but because they didn't want to spoil who it was for the movie, it was called the Starforce Commander. Up until a couple of weeks ago, it was revealed that it is the YON-ROGG character, which Funko Pop originally leaked a few weeks ago. And then last week, it came out that Jude Law is actually playing Mar-Vell, and not YON-ROGG, so this is even more confusing. So I have no idea, but it looks like a really cool figure and may be my favorite figure of the wave. We'll kind of have to see when it comes out. But here we have the Captain Marvel movie logo, YON-ROGG down there at the bottom. We have the Captain Marvel logo up at the top, Kree Sentry Build-A-Figure there. Here we have the side artwork looking pretty awesome. And one thing I will say is that I actually think that looks like it could be Jude Law based on the promo art. Maybe not. I mean, it's really hard to tell, but it really looks like it there. Same with the same artwork on the back. It looks like it would be Jude Law, but let's take a look at that bio. Okay, the bio for this figure reads, YON-ROGG, leader of the Starforce team. YON-ROGG is a hero among the Kree and a key asset to the Supreme Intelligence in the war against the Skrulls. So very, very interesting. Okay, and there is the UPC for everybody. Now, let's open this up and take a look at the figure. Okay, and here is the YON-ROGG Mar-Vell Starforce Commander figure out of the package. And I must say, this is probably going to be my favorite figure of the wave. I'm not completely sure yet, but I do really like the way it looks, and there's a couple of good things about it. And then there's some issues that I do have with it. But before we look at the figure, let's look at real quick at the Build-A-Figure piece for the Kree Sentry. Now this is pretty cool. It's pretty hollow, so it's not actually too heavy. There's not a whole lot of weight to it. But again, same nice purple metallic that we have, and a little bit of that gray silver metallic going on there. But there's a lot of cool sculpt work on there because it is, you know, a robot thing. So lots of good sculpted lines in it to like really make it look mechanical and stuff. So I do really like that. And then as far as other accessories, he comes with this blaster that he has in his hand, and I'll take a closer look at that. We'll get a closer look at the figure. But it does look really, really cool. We'll take a look at the articulation because he can move around fairly well. Now, my biggest problem with this figure, and it's probably just the one, maybe it's with all, who knows, I'm not sure. You guys let me know how your figure might be, but he's pretty loose at that ab, that top piece, so he just kind of wiggles there a little bit. Not a deal breaker, but, you know, it's you know, never really like it when that happens because that can loosen up over time even. But let's look at the articulation. So the head can look all the way down, so that is great. He can look all the way up, so if you get him into some flight poses, he can... actually, probably should go up a little bit more if you're going to get into some flight poses, so that's a little tricky there. Shoulder comes all the way out, so that is good. Full rotation. There is upper bicep swivel. You do get a double jointed elbow. However, it's hard to get a good rotation in there or a good bend in there because of the sculpted arm piece. Whatever this thing is part of his armor. I don't know if it's going to turn out to be some kind of blasters maybe. We'll have to see what the movie's going to be. But because of the way it's sculpted on the forearm there, you're not going to get a good bend on that elbow. So that's a little bit tricky, a little bit tough. Ab goes... oh, the ratcheting's gone already. So he only goes down, crunches down that much, goes back a little bit, not a whole lot. Legs go that far apart, can kick out pretty far. It goes back actually quite a bit, so do splits in the opposite direction. That's pretty cool. You do get an upper thigh cut there. You do get a double jointed knee, so that looks good. And then this is kind of hidden there, but you do get a boot swivel there, and then these ankles are very weird. You get a full hinge down, a little bit up, and you get an ankle pivot, but the way it looks is that that ankle actually goes into the foot, into the boot there, so it hides the joints and hinge very well, but you still get all the movement in there. And then because of that, this dude's got some massive feet. These things are huge, but the great thing is he's gonna stand up no matter what you do. Look at that. Boom. So that's a good thing to the good feet. Now let's take a closer look at the figure and get close looks at the face and the gun and the paint details. Okay, here's a close-up look at the YON-ROGG figure or Starforce Commander. One thing about this one, it is a movie figure, but because there's no actual face to it, we don't get a digital print, which is a little disappointing. We know that, like with the Daredevil figure, even though you're only getting, you know, half of his face exposed, they still went ahead with the digital print for the lips and for the facial hair, that kind of thing. But they did not do that for this figure, so it looks pretty generic. So this can work great as like an army builder figure, depending on how it kind of works out in the movie. If we see that in the Captain Marvel movie that there's a bunch of these guys wearing this outfit, could work out great for a army builder. But if it's just supposed to be YON-ROGG or whatever character Jude Law is portraying, or however it's going to work out, then that's okay too. But it could look great as an army builder, or for somebody in their collection on what they want to do with it. They can make a Starforce army and will work out pretty well. Now, at first glance, the head looks kind of funny to me, like in the package, the way it looked. Like, it looked like, you know, the top of the head was a lot bigger and it was really tall. And that's partly because, you know, it's like a helmet, and then it has like this mohawk thing to it. So that's kind of, you know, why it kind of looks like that from the side. It's not as bad, but it does still look a little bit large to me. There's a lot of marbleization in it, but I think it actually looks really good because the metallic green really gets it to stand out and makes it look a little shinier. So that's what I like. Now the whole figure is all black and then the added metallic green. There's not a whole lot of paint apps to it at all, except a little bit here on the shoulders, and then that Starforce emblem there is a silver color, and there's a little bit of lining under that green there, and then it comes through the chest there as well, and then a tiny bit on the helmet up top there, but not a whole lot of paint apps. There's very little, but what's there is applied nice and clean. Even on the back, you can see that it's nice and clean there. No problems there at all. So the paint apps look good. The sculpt of it is quite nice. So you got a lot of textured detail, line work, and layers throughout the suit, which we know happens with all MCU costumes. So I really like the way that looks. So these gauntlet pieces, you know, it looks like they could be blasters. You know, it's kind of got sculpted little circles there. It could be the barrel of those blasters. I'm not sure. We'll have to see in the movie, but they do look very good. And then you can see the huge feet that this thing has. Look at those things. They're huge. And then you can see how the ankle sits inside the shoe, the boot. So I really like the way that looks. It really helps stabilize the figure. But man, those feet, I mean, just look at them. They're just massive. And then this belt piece is a separate piece. And I forgot to show this earlier, but he does have a waist swivel. But overall, a very good looking figure. I do really like the way it looks. There is the blaster there. Now the handle of the gun is quite wide, so it was actually a little tricky to get his hand onto it, which kind of drove me crazy for a quick minute. But once you get it in, it looks good. Now, one weird thing is that there's no trigger on this thing, but it comes with a trigger finger hand. But the trigger finger sits right on in there in the gun where a trigger would be. And then this is just done with a gray plastic, but what I like is it's not too flimsy like some of the weapons we've seen. It's a little bit harder. Yes, it's still a little pliable, but doesn't feel as cheap. Like there's a little bit of weight to it, so I do like that. So there is the Starforce Commander, which is basically like a Kree Soldier. And now what I want to do is actually compare it to that comic version of the Kree Soldier. So let's check that out. Okay, and here they are side by side. So you can see how the movie really does take inspiration from the comic. So you get that mohawk top at the helmet there, which is nice. Now this guy is blue because we know that the Kree alien race has blue skin, but YON-ROGG does not, and I don't know exactly how that works, if he's the leader of a Kree Starforce team. So is he Kree, and how that works, who knows? But I think, you know, you definitely see the inspiration there. Now this figure was the older Hasbro body molds that I think may have been used from the Toy Biz days. This came as part of the twin packs. I believe he was packaged with a scroll, if I remember correctly. I don't have the scroll, I just have this Kree Soldier. Originally, when I started collecting, I got him because the Krees were introduced in the MCU through the Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. So the Kree existed, the Kree had been mentioned, and then like Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, you see some Kree that were talking to the Nova Corps, that kind of thing. So I wanted to have a figure, a comic figure, if there was no MCU figure, for someone representing the Kree. So this was the figure here. But I'm probably going to get rid of this now that I got the Starforce Commander. I don't know if he's really necessary. But it's just an okay figure. Nothing too great about it. Yeah. But there they are. But again, they look good side by side. I definitely like the movie figure a lot more, though. But there's my review. You guys let me know if you guys have any questions. Hit me up down in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up if you guys liked the video. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.